Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we are doing a list, a big list. We are doing my top 50 card games of all time. Now, before I start, I want to clarify I had some parameters for this because card games can be a very vague category if I would let it. Um, I am doing small box card games. I'm not doing anything that's like a big box. I'm not doing Wingspan is not included. Seven Wonders is not included. Summoner Wars is not included. Anything with like a big box, it's out. So just small, almost pocket-sized card games, but maybe some of them are a little bit bigger than that. And also, most of these games are mostly cards with a couple components here and there. But it's just basically small little card games is what this list is for. So, It's a Wonderful World is out. A lot of really good games that are basically card games, but just bigger box games, those are out. We're just doing small box games today. And I love card games. I am a huge fan of these. I like that usually, they're smaller games, a little bit faster, a little bit less than an hour game. I really enjoy card games. I've got a entire shelf to the left of me. You can't see it, but I've got a couple hundred just sitting right over there. And I could have made a top 100 card games list of all time, but I just wanted to break it down into 50 for this video. And so with that being said, let us just jump right into it with number 50. Now, number 50 is a game that I've played more than any other game in the world by far. This is Hand and Foot. Hand and Foot is just a game that is, you just need a couple decks of regular playing cards. This is a game that my family and I have played since I was a little kid. When I go over to my family's house nowadays, we still play Hand and Foot, and it is a simple card game where you're playing out sets of cards basically in front of you, and you can play it individually, competitively, or you can play it team versus team. My family and I, we tend to play it team versus team, a lot of two versus two kind of thing. And it's a very simple game, a very luck dependent game, but it's one that I've enjoyed for so long, so it had to make this list. I have played this game, I would bet a couple thousand times over the years for sure. So yeah, that's number 50, Hand and Foot. And I'm going to try to make these really fast. Try to make it 30 seconds or a minute for each of these games. Let's see if I can do it. Going to 49. 49 is a push your luck game. This is Port Royal. Port Royal, you're going to be flipping over these cards, and you can stop whenever you want to, and then you're going to take cards into your own area, little tableau building game. And the cards that you don't take, other people can choose to buy those cards, but then you're going to get a little bit of payment for it. Throughout the game, you're going to get cards that are worth points, but you're also going to get cards that are going to give you little special abilities, little tiny special abilities that will really change the game. It's a fun little push your luck game. So 49, Port Royal. Going to 48. 48 is a really weird game. This is Illusion. In Illusion, you're going to be flipping over these cards if it is your turn, and these cards have little abstract pictures on them, and they're going to be colorful. And at the start of the round, you're going to flip over this card that shows you the color that you're looking at. And for that round, then you're going to trying to place cards depending on what percentage of a certain color you think that card has. So if you think this card has like 13% and this card has 40% green, and you pull a card that's got, you think, maybe 25% green, you're going to have to place that card in between those. So you can either place a card or you can call out the person that just placed a card and said, I don't think that's right. So you flip over the cards, and it shows you what the percentages of all the colors are. If they were wrong, then you get the point. If they were right, they get the point. And it's a very weird game that I really like showing people that haven't played a lot of games, and it kind of blows their mind a lot of times. So, number 48, Illusion. Going to 47. 47 is Red 7. Red 7 is a game you are going to be playing out these cards that are colored and numbered. And on your turn, you are eliminated if you are not winning by the end of that turn, which makes for a really interesting dynamic. You can either play cards in front of you, or you can play cards on top of a rule card. The rule card is going to change what the conditions of winning are. Like, oh, the highest card is winning, or the person with the most even cards is winning. There's a bunch of different little tiny rules for this of the winning conditions. And so it makes for really interesting decisions. You just have to make sure you're winning by the end of your turn. I think it's a really cool game. So number 47, Red 7. Going to 46. 46 is a smaller version of a bigger game. This is Colt Super Express. So it is a small card game version of Colt Express. This is a programming game. You are going to have a handful of action cards, and then you're going to play all these cards down, face down, in a certain order that you want to do it. Throughout the round, whenever it's your turn, you're going to flip over the top card of your card, and you're going to do that action. The actions are moving around this train, and you're trying to eliminate other people off of this train and stay alive on this train. And so the actions are like move to the next train, move up or down on the train, or shoot, and you're going to shoot in a straight line. If you shoot someone, they get knocked to the next train or even off the train, depending on where they are. At the end of the round, when everybody's played their cards, the last train car gets eliminated. If anyone's on that train, they're taken off. And it's basically the last person standing. This is one of those games that's just really fun to play. It's almost like a party game atmosphere. A lot of laughing in this game. Really enjoy it. So 46 was Colt Super Express. Going to 45. 45 is a small solo-only card game. This is Food Chain Island. This is a button shy game, meaning it's a wallet-sized game. It's only 18 cards big, and you are going to make this grid of animals. It's your food chain, and they are numbered like 0 through 15, I think it goes through, and you're just going to move animals on top of other animals to eat them, and then do that animal's special ability. You can only eat animals, I think it's less than 3, whatever that card is. So like the 15 can eat the 14, 13, or 12, and then you're just going to do whatever the ability is. And you're trying to eat as many animals as you can, but there's going to be a lot of dynamics, a lot of moving parts in the game, depending on what the special ability is of the animal that you just used. It just makes for an interesting solo puzzle. So 45, Food Chain Island. Going to 44. 44 is Hanabi. Hanabi is a very interesting game where you're going to be playing out cards cooperatively, trying to lay out cards, play out the 1 blue, then the 2 blue, then the 3 blue, and at the same time you can play out like the green one. You're trying to put out these cards in ascending of order of each of all these cards. The gimmick of this game is you don't see your own cards. You have the cards facing the other people, and on your turn, you can either play out one of these cards, and you can't see what those cards are, or you can give a hint to the other people. And the hints, you're like, this card and this card are greens, or this card and this card are 5s. And you're going to try to dissect what your cards are, when you can play them, and when it's safe to play them. And it just makes for a really fun environment. I've had a lot of fun with Hanabi because I am terrible at memory games. And it's funny when you get like 6 clues and you're like, please give someone else clues. I can only remember this one's a green 3, this one's a 4 red, this one's a 1 yellow, and it's just a very very difficult thing if you struggle with memory, but it's also a lot of fun. So 44, Hanabi. Going to 43. 43 is a newer game that I've played this year. This is Wizards of the Grimoire. This is a dueling game where you're playing as wizards, and you are playing out these cards into your own little tableau, and they're going to be special abilities that you're going to be able to activate. How you activate them is by basically placing out a certain amount of resources for that card to activate the special ability, and then every single turn, on your turn, you're going to remove one of those. And eventually you'll remove all the cards, so then you'll be able to trigger that certain special ability again. It makes for this really interesting, fun engine building sort of game. It feels like a Res Arcana sort of game where you're building out that engine, trying to do as much as you can with just a few different cards in front of you, making a cool little combo. Fun little game. Wizards of the Grimoire is 43. Going to 42. 42 is Gloomy Graves. This is a game where you are, it's like a fantasy creatures graveyard, and you are trying to build large sections of each of the fantasy types of creatures, and you are going to play a card in your own graveyard and a card in the communal graveyard. Your own graveyard is only going to be a 3x3 section, and these cards that you're playing are dominoes. basically. So you got a top section and a bottom section of them. You're just going to be covering up cards all the time, making and growing these different types of graveyards. You know, you're like trying to get all the red graveyard. You're trying to get like a big section of that. And at the end of your turn, you can basically buy one of the graveyard points, depending on how big your graveyard is, along with that section of the communal graveyard. And it makes for some really interesting choices. It's a very sort of cutthroat sort of game, which is very interesting. A very cute looking game, but it is very cutthroat. So 42, Gloomy Graves. Going to 41. 41 is one that people are going to be like, what? Really? This is Doctor Who Flux. Flux, there's so many different versions of Flux. To me, if you want to try out the game Flux, buy one of the versions with a theme that you enjoy. Flux is a game that is constantly in flux. There's a changing rules in it. There is changing win conditions in it. It's a very kind of luck-based game. There's a little bit of strategy here and there, but a lot of it is just luck of the draw. And I really enjoy playing this like a two-player game of Flux. The Doctor Who Flux, because I'm a Doctor Who fan. Playing this with my girlfriend one-on-one, it's a really fun time. So number 41 is Doctor Who Flux. Going to 40. 40 is a very classic game. This is High Society. In High Society, it is an auction bidding game. You have a certain amount of money at the start of the game. Your money is represented by all these cards. And you are going to be auctioning off these certain point cards that are in the center. And at the end of the game, whoever has spent the most amount of money, even if they have the most points, loses automatically. If you spend the most money, you lose automatically. And then whoever's got the most points after that wins the game. So it's very interesting how you want to spend your money, and there's no change back in this game. So if you bid your 25 card and you didn't need to bid that 25 card, you don't get any change back. You've spent that 25. So yes, number 40 is High Society. Going to number 39. Number 39 is a game that I play a lot. I love introducing people to this game. No Thanks. In this game, it is just a deck of cards that are numbered, I think, 3 through 35. You take out like 9 of these cards, so 9 of these numbers are not in there. You're going to flip over one of these cards, and on someone's turn, they are either going to take that card or they're going to say no thanks and put one of these chits on there. If you take the card, you're going to get points for whatever that card's face value is, and you do not want points, but you're also going to get all the chits that are on there, and those chits are going to give you negative points, so you can kind of get some points back with it. Also, if you get consecutive cards, you can cover up the higher numbers. So if you got the 24, 25, and 26 card, you actually only have 24 points because you can tuck those 25 and 26 underneath the 24. So it makes for some fun choices. I love introducing this to people who've never played games. They're always like, oh yeah, that's fun. Let's play another round. It's quick, fast, and snappy, so you can play, several games in an hour. So number 39 is No Thanks. Going to number 38. Number 38 is Love Letter. Love Letter is a game that has a bunch of different versions of it. My favorite version probably is the Star Wars version of it, but most of them are the same, just a different re-theme of them. And it's basically almost like a little social deduction game where you have a certain character card in front of you, but you're constantly going to be rotating these character cards. On your turn, you're going to draw one of these cards and then play one of the cards that are in your hand and then do whatever the actions are. At the end of the round, if anyone's still alive, whoever's got the highest number gets the point, or if you are the last person standing, you get the point. And then you play till someone gets so many points, depending on player count. Fun little game for sure. Definitely, I like the Star Wars one, though, like I said, the best. Going to number 37. Number 37 is Coloretto. Coloretto is, I always want to say a small little card game, but all of these are small little card games. It is a game where you are trying to collect sets of different, I think they are lizards, aren't they? I can't remember right now. You're trying to collect sets of colors, basically. And on your turn, you're going to be placing out cards on different piles, or you're going to take one of these piles. And the gimmick of this is you're going to get points for 3 of your colors, but you're going to get negative points for any more than you have for 3. So it makes for a really interesting decision space of where you're placing these cards and when you want to take piles. So yes, 37 is Coloretto. Going to 36, number 36 is Parade. Parade is an Alice in Wonderland themed card game where you're going to lay out a basically parade of cards, and they're going to be numbered and they're going to be colored. When you place a card, you're going to be skipping however many people that numbered card is. So if you lay a 4 down, you skip the first 4 cards, and then from then on, if you have equal to or less than whatever card you played, you have to take those cards or any cards that are of that same color. And you do not want to take cards. Cards are going to get you points. You want the low score in this game. But if you also have the most of one color, you get to flip those cards over, and instead of getting the face value of them, they're only going to be worth 1. So it's a very interesting choices of, oh, I've got a lot of these cards, but if I get the most, it's going to negate most of those, and I'm just going to get 1 point for them. And so you have some interesting choices of how you want to collect cards in this game. So 36 is Parade. Going to 35. 35 is a party-style game. This is Cockroach Poker. This is a bluffing game. When it's your turn, you are going to hand a card to another player, and all these cards are insect cards. And you're going to be like, okay, this is a bat. And you can lie or you can tell the truth. And they're going to basically call you out on this game. They're going to say, no, that's the truth. And if they flip it over and it was the truth, the person that passed that card has to keep that card in front of them, and you do not want cards. If ever you get 3 of the same type of card, then you lose. There's no winners in this game. There's only one loser. If you were wrong about calling this person out, if you chose the wrong option, you get that card instead in front of you. So it's fun. It's a fun little game for sure. Cockroach Poker plays really fast. Going to number 34. Number 34 is a solo-only game. This is Onirim. You are going to be playing out these cards of different colors that have different symbols on them. And you are trying to place out basically 3 different cards in a row of the same color, but they have to have different symbols in it consecutively. And when you do that, you unlock a door of that color. You're trying to basically unlock 2 doors of each of the colors. If you do that, you win the game. There's going to be these nightmare cards that come along and kind of disrupt your hand and make you discard cards along the way. But it's a really fun little solo-only game. I actually got rid of my physical copy because the Steam copy or app copy is just so much better, because there's a lot of shuffling in this game. So I definitely recommend getting like the Steam version or an app version of this game rather than the physical version, but it's still like a fun little solitaire game. So 34 was Onirim. Going to 33. 33 is a deck building game, actually. You're like, I thought we were only doing small card games. We are. This is Star Realms. This is a deck building game that comes in a box that literally is only like this big. And it's impressive what they've done in this. It is a dueling, battling game, deck building game. You're building out a deck of cards that's basically going to be used to attack the opponent. They have so much health. The person who has the most health at the end of the game, or the person that survives, you go until someone has been killed. So the person who survives wins the game. It's a fun game that's really impressive what they did for such a small little box. Making a deck building game in a small little box is rather impressive. So number 33 is Star Realms. Going to 32. 32 is a set collecting sort of trading game. This is Jaipur. On your turn, there's a market of cards. You are going to try to collect some cards and then sell those goods off for a certain amount of points at the end of the game. There is a lot of like these little gems on the side that are worth points or little tokens. But it's a fun little trading card game. It's a classic card game for sure, and one that a lot of people really like, and I do enjoy it myself quite a bit. So 32, Jaipur. Going to 31. 31 is a game that I've played a lot with my son. This is a battling game. This is Dungeon Mayhem. In Dungeon Mayhem, you're going to play as these different people, and you're going to get your own basically small deck of cards, and you are trying to be the last person standing, basically. I think it plays 1 to 6 if you have all the expansions, which I do, but the original just comes in a small little box. This is such a fun game. It's so simple. There's only like 3 or 4 different symbols on the cards. It's like attacking people, healing, drawing more cards, being able to play more than one card on your turn. It's such a fun, easy game that I've played it so many times with my son. And actually, I showed my game group like a couple years ago, I remember, and I was like, I don't know if they'll enjoy this because it feels more like a kid's game, but we played it and everybody's like, oh yeah, that's fun, let's play it again. And we ended up playing it several more times, and we break it out every once in a while. So it's a fun little battling card game. 31, Dungeon Mayhem. Going to number 30. 30 is a classic little card game. This is Guillotine. Guillotine, you have a row of these nobles next to this guillotine. And on your turn, you're going to play one of these action cards. The action cards are very, very simple. They say exactly what to do. Basically, most of those action cards just manipulate the line in some way. After you played an action card, you take whatever the noble is that's closest to the guillotine. And these nobles have different amounts of points on them. And whoever's got the most points from the nobles, after you've gone through 3 different days of using all the cards, you add up all your points. Whoever's got the most points wins. A fun game, especially for one that's as old. There is sort of a different version of it that's out now called Beastie Bars. So if you don't like the theme of Guillotine, there's Beastie Bars that plays faster and it has just animals on it. Fun little game. So number 30, Guillotine, or Beastie Bars if you prefer. Going to now number 29. 29 is a game that had an arc for me. I did not like this game at all. In fact, after I played it a couple times, I gave it to my friend. I'm like, you can have it. I don't like this game. This is Abandon All Artichokes. This is a deck deconstruction game. At the start of the game, you have all 10 of your cards that are in your starting hands are just artichokes. Your goal is to get rid of artichokes and draw a hand of 5 cards that has no artichokes. First person to do that wins the game. You do that by basically getting these vegetable cards that are in this market area, and you do whatever that action is of those cards, and most of them are trying to get rid of artichokes in your hand, maybe giving your opponent some artichokes or maybe stealing some vegetable cards from them. But yeah, after your turn, you draw 5 cards. If none of those cards are artichokes, you have won the game. This game, yeah, like I said, I did not like this, and the more I played it, the more I liked it. I actually repurchased this game after I gave it to a friend, and then I played it a couple more times. I'm like, God, yeah, this is a good game. I don't know what I was expecting the first time I played it, but it didn't work for me the first time, and ever since then, I'm like, yeah, this is a good, fun game. So 29 is Abandon All Artichokes. Going to number 28. 28 is a push your luck game called Push. On your turn, you're going to be drawing cards, flipping over these cards, trying to push your luck. You are going to flip over a card and put it in one of 3 columns. You cannot put a card that's in a column if it has the same number or the same color as a previous card in that column. If you pull a card and you can't play it anywhere, you have busted, and there's penalties for that. There are cards that are, after you decide to stop, you then choose one of the piles that you have in front of you, and you take that pile, and you are going to get as many points at the end of the game as the face value of all these cards that you have. Then the next person gets to choose the next pile, and the person after that gets to choose the last pile. Doesn't really get to choose, but some of these piles are going to have these dice on them, these dice card. That means you have to roll this dice that has colors on them, and if you roll a certain color, you have to lose all the cards in your pile of that color, so it hurts quite a bit. It's just a fun little game that I've really enjoyed. I've brought it to my workplace and played it there. I brought it to my game group. We liked it there. Brought it to Game-A-Palooza. We enjoyed it there. So it's a game that works a lot of places. Very simple little push your luck game. 28, Push. Going to 27. 27 is a solo game. I mean, you can play it cooperatively, but I prefer this game solo. I've talked about this game before. This is Regicide. Regicide is just a regular deck of cards where you are trying to kill the royalty of the deck. You're trying to go through the deck of cards, trying to kill all of the jacks, then the queens, and then the kings. You're playing out these cards, and the jacks and queens, kings, they have so much health. You're trying to attack them by playing these cards out. The different suits have different powers. After you attack them, and if they're not dead, they attack you back, and then you're going to lose cards, and your cards are basically your health for that. And it's just a fun little puzzle of a game that I really enjoy solo, but you can play it cooperatively, but I just think it's a much better solo game. So number 27 is Regicide. Going to 26. 26 is a very popular, this is a classic game by Phil Walker Harding. This is Sushi Go. This is a very simple drafting set collection game. You're just going to have a hand of cards. You're going to take one, draft it past the rest, and you're just going to go in a circle, drafting these cards, picking them, and you're going to get points for a bunch of different set collecting sort of things. Very simple. All the scoring is written on all of the cards, so it's very easy to break this out with new people. I have really enjoyed Sushi Go over there. You can get Sushi Go Party, which is just a bigger sort of version of it with a little bit more variety. Fun little game. Number 26, Sushi Go. And we are at the halfway point. Let me get a little sipper. And let's get right back into it. Number 25 is Biblios. Biblios is a game that is played in two different phases. The first phase of the game is you're just going to be basically drafting cards in this game. And the cards are either going to be colors or they're going to be money. And the cards that you don't take on your turn, the other people are going to be able to draft those ones into their hands. After you've gone through the entire deck of those cards, then you are going to flip over another deck of cards, and then they're going to have options of you're trying to basically auction those cards. And you're trying to get have the majority of different colors, because if you have the majority of a certain color, then you get the points on a dice. There's some dice in this game, but all they do is represent basically the value of those goods. And the dice are just going to be moving up and down in value the entire game. It's a fun game that has become like a classic. It's actually been a while since I've played Biblios, but I really need to bring it back to the table. So number 25, Biblios. Going to number 24. Number 24 is a big, giant collectible card game. This is the most popular collectible card game of all time. This is Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is a very, very complex game that has so many keywords, and it's just a battling game. And you can build your deck however you want to, but if you just play a regular game of Magic, it's just a deck of cards versus the other person's deck of cards. And it's 24 because the games of Magic that I've enjoyed, I really enjoy it. The games of Magic that I don't like, I really don't like. So there's a very steep curve in this game of, it's just, you can have really good experiences and really bad experiences. A lot of it depends on your play group, how they act, because there's this sort of not a good surrounding, there's not a good reputation for a lot of Magic, and it might be well warranted because I've had issues playing Magic, but I've also had really, really fun times playing Magic. So number 24 is Magic the Gathering. Going to number 23. Number 23 is it's Reiner Knizia, I believe, right? Yeah. This is Schotten Totten. This is a game that has had many additions, many different re-themes of it, but it's basically you are trying to win the stones that are in the middle between the two players, and you're trying to win the stones by playing basically the best poker hand on each side of that stone. And on your turn, you're just going to place one card on one side, a stone on your side, and then you're going to draw back up, and you can see what other cards are played on the other person's side, and you're like, okay, I have to try to beat their 3 in a row of this, maybe. And you can make runs, you can make runs of the same color, you can have all of the same type of card or number on that, all the same color type on a certain stone, and you can tell when you win. They're like, I can prove that I won this stone because you would have to play the purple 3 over here in order to win, and the purple 3 is over here, so I know you can't play that, so I've won this stone already. And you just have to win so many stones, and then you win the game. It's a really fun, thinky game. You're trying to outthink your opponent. You also have to get the right cards, for sure, in this game. But it's a fun little strategy game. 23, Schotten Totten. Going to 22. 22, it might be the simplest card game that is on this list. This is Point Salad. In Point Salad, you have a grid of vegetable cards, and you have a couple 3-point cards up on top. On your turn, you can either take 2 vegetable cards from the grid area, or you can take one of the point scoring cards on top. The point scoring cards just tell you how you're scoring points at the end of the game. It's very, very simple. It's like all of your carrots are going to be worth 3 points, and all your onions are going to be worth -1. So throughout the rest of the game, you're trying to collect carrots, not get onions. And you can get a ton of different point scoring cards, but when you get point scoring cards, you don't get vegetable cards for that turn. So it makes for a fun decision space, and it's so light you can teach this to anybody. So number 23 is Point Salad. No, 22, my apologies. 22 is Point Salad. Going to 21, 21 is a very popular classic card game. I'm going to say that a lot in this list. This is Lost Cities. This is a game, and it does come in a bigger box than I wanted it to, but it's only because there's like this little strip of board that you're playing cards out onto. And on your turn, you are going to place a card on your side of a certain color, or you're going to place this card in the middle, which is going to be available for anyone else to pick up. So after you place a card, you're going to draw a card. And you're going to have to choose whether you want to pick from the pile or maybe pick from a card that another player has discarded. And you have really interesting choices in this game. You're like, okay, it's like you never want to get rid of cards. You're like, okay, I don't want to play any cards yet, because you have to play these cards in ascending order. You have to play like the 1, then the 2, then the 3 or whatever, or the 1 and then a 5 and a 7. So if you play like a 7 right away, then you won't be able to play that 5 later on. So you have some really interesting choices of how you're going to play. You're like, okay, I'm going to play this here, and I hope the other person doesn't take it. But then they take it, and just because they're jerks. That's why they take it. So yes, number 21, Lost Cities, a game that's fun, but can be very cruel sometimes. Going to number 20. Number 20 is a drafting game where this is Ohanami. This is a very Zen type game, is how I would say this. You're just going to be drafting 3 different rounds in this, and you're drafting 2 cards at a time. On your turn, you're going to get a hand of cards, draft 2 of them, place these down, and pass the rest, and then draft 2, pass the rest, draft 2, pass the rest. But these cards are all numbered. I think it goes from 1 to 120, I believe it goes up to. And they're different colors. And when you lay cards down, if you lay the 5, you have 3 columns that you can play these cards in. Say you lay the 25 and the 35. You have to lay the 35 behind the 25 right up there, but now in that column you can no longer play, say, the 34 through the 26 in between them. You either have to play a higher version card in that column or the lowest card in that column. And you have some interesting choices, but there's also these different colors are all going to score at different times. Like I think it's the blue cards are going to score every single round, but they're only worth 3. Then the next round, the green cards are going to be added, and so you're going to score the blue and the green cards. And then there's the pink cards and these stone cards, and they're all going to score different times, and they're going to be worth different amount of points. It's a very fun game, very easygoing, very relaxing game. So where are we at here? Number 20 is Ohanami. Going to number 19. Number 19 is another drafting game, and you're going to be playing 2 rounds of drafting in this game, and this is Ecosystem. You are going to be drafting out a hand of 10 cards each round, and when you draft a card, you place it down into this grid. The cards that you're drafting are different nature theme stuff. They're animals, or they might be grass or streams or stuff like that. And after you've played 2 rounds, you're going to score. And all of these different cards are going to score in different ways. A lot of it is adjacency based. If you place a bear, you're going to score for all the fish that are beside that, or the streams, and the mosquitoes want to be beside the streams. And all the animals and different cards are going to score in a different way. And it's really unique and interesting. It's very easy to get into. There's also a sequel to this called Eco Coral System, which is the same game but more ocean themed, but it makes the game a little bit more complex. The animals and stuff are a little bit more complex, the scoring system. So I like Ecosystem a little bit better, but Eco Coral System is a good one as well. So number 19 is Ecosystem. Going to number 18. Number 18 is a 2-player only trick-taking game. This is Claim. Claim has 2 distinct phases in this game. In the first phase, you have a hand of cards, both the players, and then you're going to flip over one of these cards that are on the deck. And you are going to then try to play a trick in order whoever wins the trick takes that card that's on there. If you lose the trick, you just take a random card from the deck and put it to the side. The cards that you've won for that, put them to the side because they're going to be used in the next phase. And all the different, there's fantasy races on here that are the suits. All the fantasy races have different special abilities that are going to be triggering at different points. And it's very interesting because you're like, okay, the card that's showing right here is not very good, so I don't want that card. So I'm going to try and lose this trick. So you want to win some tricks and lose some tricks, and so you're going to try to outlose someone or outwin someone. After you've gone through the entire deck, then the second phase starts, and then you just play a regular trick-taking game, allowing for the special abilities of all the races as well. And at the end, you're going to take all the cards that you've won during the tricks and put them to the side. And at the end of the game, once you've played all throughout your whole hand, whoever wins the most majorities of the most fantasy races wins the game. It's a fun little game. There's several expansions to this game. I actually only have Claim 1 and Claim 2, and you can combine those two, but there's a bunch of different expansions. It's such a cute little trick-taking game. I really enjoy it. Number 18 is Claim. Going to 17. 17 is a game that I like to play solo. This is another button shy game. This is Sprawlopolis, so it's another little wallet-sized game. It's a city-building game. You are placing cards on top of other cards, trying to build out the city. The cards are just different quadrants of different roads and different things like that, and you're playing cards on top of other cards, and you are scoring differently every single game. Because at the start of the game, you're going to flip over 3 of these cards, and the backside are scoring conditions. And so, there's just a random draw for those scoring conditions. So every game is going to feel a little bit different. How you're building out your city, how you're trying to build out your city. You're trying to connect roads, because the more roads that you have, you lose points for those. So you're trying to connect your roads to make it make sense for your cities. And it's just a fun game. There's a couple different versions of this. There's like Agropolis, and there's I can't remember what they're all called now, but there's like 3 different versions of this game now, and they're all really fun. So number 17 is Sprawlopolis. Going to number 16. Number 16 is a classic card game. This is For Sale. This is a game that also has 2 phases in it. In the first phase, you have money, and it's an auctioning for this. And you're going to have so many cards that are in this market area, and they are going to be estates, and they're going to be numbered anywhere from 1 to 50. I think number 1 is like an outhouse, and number 50 is like a space station or something like that. And so you're trying to get the higher number estates, and so you're auctioning off of that. And you have so much money for that round to spend, and if you have the highest bid, you get to take the highest estate. If you dropped out, you get the lower estate values. Makes for some good choices in this game. And then after that, you go into the second phase, where the second phase you're just going to flip over a bunch of money, and then you're going to use the estates that you've won in the first one to basically sell those off, and the higher number estate gets the highest number of money value for that little market value, and you're doing this simultaneously. So it's a fun game, really easy to teach, really fun to play. Number 16, For Sale. Number 15 now is a 2-player only game. This is Air, Land, and Sea. This is a game where you're trying to control at least 2 of the different regions, either air and land or air and sea or whatever. You're playing out cards in these different sections, trying to have the most points in these sections, and there are special abilities on these cards. So you're playing cards on that side, doing whatever the special abilities are, maybe flipping over cards, which then turns that card into a 1 rather than maybe the 5 face value that it is. But you have a lot of fun, interesting choices to make in this game. There's a lot of changing, a lot of striking where someone didn't expect it. And then if you are losing badly enough, you can drop out of this game at any time or that round. And the sooner that you drop out of the round, the less points the other person is going to get. But if you play the entire round and you lose, the other person is going to get basically the maximum amount of points. So number 15, Air, Land, and Sea, a great 2-player only game. Number 14 is a beautiful looking game. This is Arboretum. In Arboretum, you are playing out these tree cards that are different tree types and different numbers. And you're making basically a big giant grid of these trees, trying to make connections of the same types of trees, but also keeping the same types of trees in your hand, because whoever's got the majority of that type of card in their hand at the end of the game is going to score those trees of that particular type in their play area. So you have a really interesting dynamic. You're like, I want to get more points out here, but if I don't keep some cards in my hand, I'm not going to be able to get the privilege of scoring those types of cards. And scoring is very, very hard in this game. It's if you score, 20 points, that's a lot in this game. So yes, number 14, Arboretum. Going to number 13. Number 13 is a game that I've talked about a lot. I haven't recently, but I've talked about it a lot on this channel. This is a Game of Thrones Hand of the King. This is a very cheap little game, little card game that has a grid of people. There's a grid of all the different family members in Game of Thrones. On your turn, you're going to be moving the Varys card in a orthogonally uppy, downy, lefty, right maneuver and taking all of the certain family types, say all of the, I can't think of the different families, but all of the certain family of this type. So you could take 2 or 3 of this family and by moving it left, then the next person moves it, and you're just going to be maneuvering this Varys card throughout the whole game. And if you have the majority of the families, you're going to score that family's points at the end of the game. Or you need the majority, you need the more families majority at the end of the game. Whoever's got the most majority wins the game. It's such a fun game. Definitely a 2-player game. You can play it more, but I definitely recommend it as just a 2-player game. I've really liked this game. You used to be able to buy this game for like $3 on sale on Amazon. And recently I think they did a reprint where it, now it seems like it's $20, but I've gotten a lot of plays out of this game. I probably haven't played it for 2 years now, but I used to play this game a ton. I got a lot of use out of that game. So number 13 is A Game of Thrones Hand of the King. Going to number 12. Number 12 is an abstract game. This is Mandala. It does come in like a bigger box, kind of like Lost Cities, but the only reason it comes in a bigger box is because it comes with this sheet that's basically your board. It comes with a cloth sheet. And you are trying to play out cards on either the middle of this mandala or your section of the mandala. Once there is all 6 types, color types in this mandala area, you're going to score that mandala. And whoever's got the most on their side, the most cards on their side, is going to get the privilege of taking the mandalas from the middle, basically drafting those ones that you want, and those are going to go into your scoring pile. And you're going to get so many points for certain cards. It's such a fun little easy game. I really like how it looks. It's just a clean, abstract game that has just so many fun decisions, some hard choices in this game. So number 12 is Mandala. Going to number 11. Number 11 is a solo game that I absolutely adore. This is The Lost Expedition. In The Lost Expedition, you are playing out cards, trying to make your meeple get all the way to the lost city of Z. And the whole time you are playing out these cards, and these cards are just bad cards. It's just bad thing happening after another, but you're just trying to manage your way to just limp across into the lost city of Z, and then you win the game. It's very hard to win this game. And I don't win that often, to be honest. But I don't know how they're going to get back from the lost city of Z, because you're basically dead by the time you get there. So, well, you got the lost city of Z, so good luck. I don't know how you're getting back. But number 11 is The Lost Expedition. Let's go to number 10. Number 10 is a small card game version of a bigger game. The bigger game is actually right here. This is Conspiracy Abyss Universe. This gives me the feel of Abyss, but in a smaller little tin package. And you're just playing out cards, building this inverted pyramid of all these different Sea Lords. It makes you still have the great artwork of Abyss, but just in a smaller package. So if you want a little travel size version of Abyss, this is a great way to get into that. So number 10, Conspiracy Abyss Universe, making it into the top 10. Very nice. Going to number 9. Number 9 is a game that I keep enjoying more and more the more I play this game. This is Scout. This is a game where you are trying to, it's kind of like a ladder building game. You are trying to outdo whatever the last person did. So if they played 2 2s, you won't want to play maybe 4 3s or something like that. And if you cannot beat the previous person's turn, what they did, you then scout them, meaning you take the cards, one of the cards that are in that player played, and place that in your hand. The gimmick of this game is you can never maneuver your hand. You can't, if the cards that you are dealt, they have to stay that way. You can't maneuver all your 3s together. You're going to have to play your game strategically to get those cards together somehow, some way. It's a really fun game. I have enjoyed it so much over the last, uh, a year and a half now I've had this game. I've played it a bunch, and I really, really enjoy it. So number 9 is Scout. Don't mind my dog walking around, because he always walks around during his videos. He feels the need to. Going to number 8. Number 8 is Fantasy Realms, or my preferred edition of it is called Marvel Remix, which just takes Fantasy Realms and puts the Marvel theme on it and makes it a little bit scoring a little bit less crazy. So I enjoy the Marvel version of it a little bit more. In this game, you basically have a hand of 7 cards, and when it's your turn, you're going to either draw a card blind off the deck, or you're going to take a card that's in the market area, and then you're going to discard a card that's in your hand, and you're just trying to combo these cards to make the best scoring hand that you possibly can. And it's just a fantastic game, really fast. It can go really fast, and you can get screwed in this game. I'll say that there's a lot of luck in this game. If you're not getting the cards you need, you're just not getting the cards you need. So number 8 is Fantasy Realms, or my version, Marvel Remix. Going to number 7. Number 7 is a game that I've played a lot over the years. This is Archaeology: The New Expedition. In this game, you're basically collecting different sets and then selling off these sets to the museum, and it's a push your luck style game, because the bigger the set you have, the more that it's going to be worth at the end of the game. But there are different things that are going to happen throughout the game that can make you lose the cards. There's sandstorm cards, there's thief cards that make you lose these cards and get put back into the market area. So it's a really interesting push your luck set collection game. Number 7, Archaeology: The New Expedition. Going to number 6. Number 6 is a game so underrated. It's a very good game. This is Hats. And before I made this list, I'm like, I gotta play Hats again, because I haven't played Hats in like a year and a half, and nobody ever talks about Hats. But in this game, you have a market of cards, and the market, or this board, and it is this board has, the 1 slot, 2 slot, 3 slot, 4 slot, 5 slot, and on your turn you are going to take one of your cards and replace one of the cards that's in the market. The card that you replace, that you put on the market, has to be either bigger than that card or of the same value. The card that you take then goes into this tableau area, and then you play out your entire hand of cards except for one, and you are going to score the cards that are in your tableau area based on where that color is on that grid. The pinks could be worth 3 if that pink card's there. The greens could be worth 5. So you have a lot of good choices in this game. I will say the last player in this game has a distinct advantage, because they can change the market so drastically. But what I always do is I just play 2 games of this and add up your score for those 2 games, because this game is really fast. Maybe 15 minutes or so for a full game of this. So 6, Hats. Going to the top 5. Number 5 is a memory type game, and you're like, what? I thought you weren't good with memory. I'm not very good with memory games. But number 5 is Cabo. Excuse my dog again. Cabo is a memory game. You have 4 cards in front of you. They're all face down to start the game. At the start of the game, you're going to look at 2 of these cards, and the cards can be anywhere from 0 points to 13 points. And you're going to be drawing cards, replacing cards in your little area. Some cards will give you special abilities that you can peek at your card, or maybe look at an opponent card. You might be able to trade cards from your cards to another person's card. Or on your turn, you can just call Cabo, meaning the round is going to end after this, and whoever's got the lowest points basically wins that round, and you just get the points that are in front of you. And once a player has reached 100 points, that's when the game's ending. Whoever has the lowest point score at that point wins the game. So number 5 is Cabo. Going to number 4. Number 4 is a game I definitely wasn't expecting to like as much as I did. This is Enchanted Plumes. In Enchanted Plumes, you are trying to build this peacock, this plume of this peacock, and you can build plumes as big as you want or as basically small as you want, but you're basically making a pyramid of cards, and for the cards that are on the bottom row of that peacock, you're going to score negative points. So you want all these low cards, or 0s, 1s, or 2s on this bottom row, and on the other rows, the top of the pyramid type of deal, you're going to score positive points for all of those. You're also going to score bonus points if you complete a full pyramid of your plume. So number 4, Enchanted Plumes. Really good game, really good decision space in this game. Going to number 3. Number 3 is a classic game that it's a 2-player game. Very, very thinky to me. You're always trying to outthink your opponent. This is Hanamakoji. In this game, you are playing cards on your side of different geishas. You're playing these favor cards, and you're trying to win the favor of these different geishas by having the most cards on your side of that geisha. And if you win the favor of so many geishas, you win the game. Or if you have so many points worth of geishas, you win the game. There is some really interesting decisions in this. It's an I cut you choose game. Like you're going to give the opponent 3 cards. They have to give you back 2 cards, but they get to keep one of those cards and put that card in front of you, one in front of them. So it's a really good game. So yeah, number 3 is Hanamakoji. Going to number 2. Number 2 is a game that I really debated whether or not it should make this list because it feels like a big game. But if you get just the regular version of this game, it comes in a box about this size. This is Radlands. My version comes in a little bit bigger box. It's about that big. Because I've got a playmat with this. But you do not need the playmat. I suggest you get the playmat. But it's just a game where you are playing out these people trying to defend your base and also attacking the other person's bases. And all the characters have different abilities, and you're going to trigger them by placing these water resource tokens on them. The only other thing is in this game is these resource tokens that are water, and those are going to be it's going to be how you pay for new people to go out on the board, and it's also going to be how you reactivate some of their abilities once they're out on the board. A great game. I absolutely love Radlands. It is my favorite 2-player game for sure. So number 2, Radlands. Going to number 1, my favorite card game of all time, has been my favorite card game for a few years now. Ever since it basically came out. This is The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. Or you can do The Crew 2, the sequel to it. They're basically the same game with a little bit different. There's 50 different scenarios in each of them. It is a cooperative trick-taking game with limited communication. It's so thinky, so fun. And once you really get into the game, once everybody knows how to play, it is so much fun to try and do this, try to beat the scenarios. It's one of those games, a scenario can take, anywhere from 2 minutes to 10 minutes. But we always end up playing this game for hours, like 2 or 3 hours. So we're trying to beat all these different scenarios. It's a great game. I absolutely love The Crew. So yes, my favorite card game of all time is The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. And that will complete this top 50 card games of all time. I apologize for my dog just continually walking back and forth, but there's not much I can do about it. But thank you for watching. Make sure to comment down below your favorite card games of all time. Maybe your top 5 favorite card games of all time. And if it's not on this list, I'll tell you why. Or maybe I haven't played it, because of course I haven't played every card game that's out there. There's so many, but I've played so many. I really like these card games. But either way, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you'll have an amazing day. Take care.